Hi, Michael William Denny of thunderwizard.com, thundershamanism.com, and asktheshaman.com. And today I'm going to start a video series about one of my most popular and definitely one of my most controversial books, and that one is Odin Says Jesus Was a Coward, the Monotheist Subversion of Traditional Religious Thought. Before I get into that, if you're not familiar with my work, you can go ahead and click on the links below. Find out what I'm all about. Thunderwizard.com, thundershamanism.com. There's links on both of those that have all of my books on it. You know, there's a link there to buy the book, and asktheshaman.com will get you directly to me if you want personal counseling, if you want personal instruction in shamanism or any of the other things that I work with, or if you want me to give you a rune reading, you can click on that button and call me. So anyway, I'm really interested to see where this is going to go on this YouTube. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be giving, spontaneous explanations of the chapters in the book and some of the things. I'll just be talking, extemporaneously about it. But in the book I go into great detail, examining things and looking at things objectively. And we look at the historical accuracy of the Gospels. We look at the historical accuracy of Jesus. We look at where monotheism came from, the history of monotheism, how it got started, and the main idea behind this is that I think it's very important that we look at the assumptions that we carry with us about religion, about spirituality, about our relationship to the universe, about our relationship to ourselves, and most importantly, the understanding of how we have completely lost our original ancestral understanding of ourselves from a spiritual nature. And by the way, I need to put this out there. This has nothing I teach has anything to do with any of that other racialist, skinhead, neo-Nazi, Odinist thing. There's a lot of other people throwing the name Odin around who are connected to some stuff I have nothing to do with. I'm not going to make any comment about it, but just know that I have nothing to do with that. So what I am is I'm a shaman, and I'm a spiritual seeker, and I'm a mystic. It just so happens that I happen to be of Norse and Anglo-Saxon descent, so I am actually looking at the ancestral path of my ancestors, but that to me, as important as that is, and as personally fulfilling as that is definitely not the main point of what I'm doing. So, so getting back to this book, today we're going to be talking about the introduction to the book. Odin Says Jesus Was a Coward. And that title is something that I address in the introduction, which is, I know it sounds very incendiary. I know it gets a lot of attention. That wasn't my purpose for writing that title. It was my purpose to convey to the reader initially the shock of that phrase, Jesus is a coward. The idea of, what that did to me and the transformation that did to me as I meditated on all of the things that happened. So the bottom line is this. That phrase, Jesus was a coward, was spoken to me in a shamanic dream state by a being who presented itself as Odin, the god Odin. Whether or not it was Odin, I can't tell you. I don't even know necessarily what that could mean. Odin could mean my own subconscious, my own higher self. Odin could mean a distinct being. I don't really care who or what Odin was. What is important to me is the transformation that has happened to me since that dream. So, if you don't know anything about me, my history very briefly is that I was raised a born-again Christian, a fundamentalist. I went to Bible school. I was going to become an evangelist. I was about to enter seminary. I read the Bible in Greek and Latin and all that kind of stuff. And I chose to walk away from Christianity for reasons that I have explained in detail. But basically the bottom line was it just didn't make sense to me anymore. On a personal note, my own ethics would not allow me to worship a deity that arbitrarily punished people eternally for what amounted to having the wrong intellectual understanding of who God was, which is what Christianity is. Christianity is based on the idea that you believe in Jesus and then you believe that he did this, that, and the other thing. And that belief in and of itself will save you. And that is very different from traditional religious understanding. So in that, in that dream, what happened was this. There's a shamanic technique that I use, which is when I'm in the state between waking and sleeping, as I'm waking up in the morning, I will often meditate on something, or I will throw out a question, and many times I will get an answer, or I'll get some kind, I'll have some kind of experience. Lots of times nothing will happen, maybe a dream, who knows what. But this was about 10 years ago, and after I'd spent about 20 years doing other traditional spiritual practices that have an unbroken connection into prehistory. We can call them shamanic, we can call them indigenous practices, it doesn't matter. The point is that they haven't been invented in the last 2,500 years. These are traditions that have a long tradition that go back thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of years. And so I wanted to look at the practices of my ancestors, and I was confronted with the myth of Odin hanging on the world tree, sacrificing himself on the world tree. And as the myth goes, he hung on the world tree for 9 days and 9 nights. And as the result of that, he then was revealed, or it was revealed to him, the mysteries of the universe, or what we would call the runes. That's a whole other subject. But bottom line is, after that sacrifice, the runes were revealed to him, and he achieved his enlightenment, his salvation, his perfection, however you want to look at it. And I started thinking to myself, that seems so similar to the sacrifice of Jesus. And so I did as what a lot of us do. I was projecting onto my pre-Christian ancestors post-Christian ideas. And so here's what happened. So I'm in that state of semi-consciousness, and I throw out the question to Odin. I say, Odin, what is the difference between your sacrifice on the world tree and Jesus' sacrifice on the cross? And to my utter astonishment, I heard a loud booming voice that said, Jesus was a coward. And it shocked me to my core. And it frightened me so much I almost woke myself up. I chose not to. I chose to see where this was going, because it was so shocking and frightening to me. I had all that Christian understanding of, if anything does not proclaim Jesus Christ as Lord, it is of the devil, and that, all that garbage was still in my head, 30 years later, after I walked away from it, or 20 years later, or whatever it was. But I chose to keep listening. And this being, whatever it was, whether it was my subconscious, whether it was my superconscious, whether it was Odin himself, whoever this being was that claimed to be Odin, continued to go on and say that he sacrificed himself to himself in order to achieve his own perfection for himself. He didn't do it for anybody else. In other words, the feeling was that it's disingenuous to do something for somebody else. That was ridiculous. The idea that people can't do for themselves to him was demeaning, and it was against his warrior ethic to demean anybody. And so to sacrifice himself for somebody else was not only, counterproductive for him, but it was an insult to whomever he was to give that to. So the whole idea of the Christian gift of salvation was to him was the height of blasphemy, because it demeaned people, it weakened them, it took their power away. And he was all about self-empowerment. And his understanding was, if you empower yourself, you empower everybody else. And his enlightenment, his salvation, his perfection that he achieved by this self-sacrifice wasn't something that he was going to give to anybody, but it was definitely something that he would share, so that they could do it for themselves. They could study what he did and do what he did and achieve what he achieved. And he wanted to see human beings as equals, and that he wanted to empower people to live that warrior ethic. The warrior ethic of sacrificing yourself for truth and empowering yourself and continuing to evolve. The idea of self-evolution wasn't a warrior aspect. And so he went on and on and on about how, look at society today. Jesus gave people his salvation to a bunch of people who didn't want it, who didn't appreciate it, who didn't deserve it, and look what they've done with it. Nothing. They're a bunch of sheep. They can't do anything for themselves. And it wasn't so much that there was this feeling of a tremendous tragedy. And in fact, he said something, "What a colossal waste," was a quote. What a colossal waste. And the feeling is that the universe or that human society was at a crossroads at that point. At the point of the introduction of Christianity, society was at a crossroads where they could follow the path of the spiritual warrior, the warrior shaman, or they could follow this other path. And Odin chose not to get involved in that fight. And when Christianity started taking over, the feeling I got was that it was extremely saddening to him, because the potential of human beings was so great. And he chose to walk away. It wasn't that Jesus won or Christianity won. He was going to let man make his own choice about what he wanted to believe. And if he wanted to become a weakling and a coward and a sheep and, walk away from his own empowerment, Odin gave man the right to do that. He gave them his integrity. If that's your choice, you can do it. So anyways, I could go on and on and on and on and on and on, but I'm going to stop it there for now. If you want, you can go ahead and buy the book. Odin Says Jesus Was a Coward. There's a link down there to buy it on Amazon. If you want to look at all the rest of my books and DVDs, you can click on either of the links, thunderwizard.com or thundershamanism.com. If you want to talk to me directly and you want personal counseling, you want personal instruction in shamanism, runes, whatever the heck it is, or if you want a rune reading from me, you can click on asktheshaman.com. Take a couple minutes and register. My phone will ring. If I'm home and you click on that, my phone will ring and you can ask me any questions you want. So now we'll get into other chapters in the book.